What's really good, my people? Welcome into No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. I am your host, Sean Little. Big Nick the Quick with me as always. We missed a week, so we got a lot to catch up on. NBA in-season tournament is now in the semis in Vegas. I will actually be in the building. I leave tomorrow. I'm very fired up about that. So we'll talk about the in-season tournament. We'll talk about LeBron, Giannis. We got the Pacers, who have absolutely been cooking. The Pelicans are in there as well. We'll see who meets up in the finals. We'll talk about start time. Talk about a lot of different stuff there. Then LeBron in that in-season tournament, he looked locked. How does that affect the legacy? He looks like he wants the NBA Cup. Then we'll talk about the Bulls a little bit. We haven't talked about the Bulls a lot, but they're kind of in the mix here because they're gonna offload LaVine. It looks like he did the soreness sit. He's been out. He can't go.
we think you should sit, man. We know you're sore.
Yeah, it might be a mutual decision, but we'll get into that and talk about what the Bulls should do with LaVine and what the market is, because apparently there's not a big market. Then we'll move over to the MVP, NFL, and talk about Brock Purdy. I want to talk about the Mr. Irrelevant thing continuing to come up. When can you shake this? Is he just never allowed to win anything because he was Mr. Irrelevant? You have to be a first-round pick to win the awards. We'll talk about that. And the AFC is absolutely wide open. The Chiefs are not like that. The Bills aren't even going to make the playoffs, in my estimation. We'll break it all down. No catch-up. Sports Talk via Chicago. Let's get to it.
Man, look at Mossy. Really? Oh, so that's how you're going to play it. You going to do this? Okay, fine. That's all I needed. That's all I needed for him to do that. And it became personal with me.
Big Nick the Quick, what's goody?
Man, how we feeling? What a week! What a week so far.
It's been a fun week.
It's been a great week.
No doubt about it. We missed a week. We were working, man. Everybody's traveling, everybody's working, but we're back to catch up on a couple things. Big Nick the Quick, the beard is almost all the way back.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? I think it's just, I don't know, man. You know how it is. You got to be meticulous with this shit. Doesn't look how I want it to look, and I don't want to start
solid,
over.
Man.
So
it's solid, man. It's looking good.
I don't know what to do fully.
Let it ride.
But you know,
winter time, man. You got to get the grizzled look on, anyways. You know.
Yeah, I got you. Look, we got an hour here. We can easily blow through. We'll probably do like an hour 10, hour 15. But Big Nick the Quick, you heard the intro. We're gonna talk about the in-season tournament, LaVine, LeBron. Then we go to NFL. We'll talk MVP, AFC. But first, Nick's got to get a couple minutes off his chest about the college football playoff. For some reason, for a guy that doesn't care about college football, needs to get a takeoff on the college football playoff. It is an interesting thing what they did, because me and Nick have actually been trying to tell you guys for years that this shit's always been about the money across the board. So it's finally starting to come all the way to the forefront. Big Nick the Quick, talk to me about, I'm assuming this is about FSU getting snubbed.
Yeah, set it up. I mean, set it up. So let the people know what happened here.
People know.
We know. First off, let's set up. This is not. We're not going to sit up here. You guys know the deal. We don't pretend to be experts on the kids. We don't talk about it. It's not something we.
It's bigger than the game. It's bigger than the
bigger
kids,
than the game. When certain things like this happen, we have to comment on. I'll let you set it up, and I'll go from there.
Big Nick the Quick wanted to talk about the college football playoff because an undefeated Florida State, 13-0, a legacy program. Bobby Bowden,
right?
Oh yeah, Jameis. What you mean? Jameis got one.
Yeah, exactly.
Jameis got one. They have multiple national titles. Bobby Bowden, Deion Sanders. The list goes. Peter Warwick. Shout out Peter Warwick. The list goes on and on.
Work done.
Florida State is a massive program. They go undefeated. Their quarterback goes down. They don't get selected for the playoff. With a couple other teams that have one loss made it, Texas and Alabama, who Alabama lost to Texas, and they even got the nod before Florida State. Nick, this is something that's bothering you, and what makes it interesting is everyone's starting to tell on themselves here.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of just gave everybody the fuck you. You can be mad for a little bit, but at the end of the day, we're about this paper. The college football playoff expands to 12 teams next year. For this last year, we had to do what we had to do. We had to slide in who we had to slide
on
in.
the way out. This is the way it is. Yeah. So I mean, my issue with it is this, right? So obviously, I the argument that I keep seeming to hear is it's supposed to be the 4 best teams at the time, right? And because Florida State's quarterback goes down, all of a sudden, again, it seems to me that it doesn't matter that you won 13 games in the Atlantic Coast Conference, right? And when we talk about the fact that Florida State has won this college football playoff before, the ACC has produced winners before, right? So it's not like this is some multiple winners. Clemson has 2 titles.
In the last,
Florida State,
10 years? Yeah.
Yeah, Florida State has one. And when you look at it, I think only 3 conferences have won it, right? Ohio State has won it from the Big Ten. A bunch of SEC schools have won it, and then Clemson and Florida State. So of the Power 5, only 3 conferences have won it, the ACC being one. So you would think that if you go undefeated in that conference from a school like Florida State, when you schedule a non-conference opponent like Louisiana State University, who plays in that same Southeastern Conference that we love to talk about so much,
Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like leading candidate for the Heisman Trophy is playing there. You beat them, right? You go undefeated, and because your quarterback gets hurt, all of a sudden it's like, hey, well, we just don't think you're going to be competitive. And everybody likes to point out to, they don't want another TCU. TCU beat Michigan to get into that game last year. It's not like TCU showed up to the semifinal and got destroyed. Yeah, they got massacred in the final game, but so what? That's sports. That's how it happens. But what doesn't sit right with me, right, is that on one hand with sports, what do we love about sports, right? Outside of just the game itself, it's the stories, it's the rising from the ashes, right? It's the Rudy, it's the miracle on ice, it's the whatever, right? These people that come out of nowhere and kind of defy the odds and win, and you have these great stories. But you're sitting here telling these kids, nah, we don't even want to give you the opportunity for that, right? It doesn't matter that you went undefeated. It doesn't matter that you went undefeated in what we call a quote-unquote Power 5 conference, which is why we're getting rid of all this bullshit anyways. Like, give me a break, right? You'd rather let in 2 one-loss teams than one team who went undefeated because their quarterback's hurt and you fear them getting blown out. And the rationale being all these coaches and athletic directors got together, talked about it. Apparently they watched games together and decided, yeah, we can't let Florida State in there because they're going to get blown out by one of these 3 teams. To me, that's just absolutely crazy, right? What's the point of having the regular season? Essentially what you're saying is, let's say Texas's quarterback, let's say Ewers was out for the first 2 games for Texas, right? And they go 0 for 2. And then after Ewers comes back, Texas wins their next 11 games by an average of 50 points. Are they now the best team and one of the best teams in the country? So they should get in over somebody because right now they have their quarterback and they're better? Because that's what it sounds like to me. So then what's the point? It doesn't make any sense. Look, I don't care if you're going to have a hard time leaving Texas out and you got to explain it. Or you're going to have a hard time leaving Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide out and you got to explain it. To me, it is harder to leave out a team that went undefeated in a Power 5 conference based off the fact that their fucking quarterback got hurt. This is why we don't watch this shit. I'll watch the playoff, but this is why we don't spend every week watching it, talking about it, whatever. It's all bullshit. It's all about the money. You said it the best on the pod a couple of years ago. You called it pageantry, and it's the best way that I've ever heard anybody describe college football. It's pageantry. It's bullshit. It's lipstick on a pig. The games aren't even great anyways, and now you're leaving out undefeated teams from Florida State University. Give me a fucking break.
That's it's a mockery. They just do whatever they want. They've always done whatever they wanted.
Whatever they want.
You know what's funny is everyone hated the BCS, but at least the BCS was an algorithm and a formula that had nothing to do with a bunch of goofballs in a room.
Yeah.
Like if you plug
it didn't take into account the balance sheet.
If you plug people into a room, biases are going to happen. Some voices are louder than others because we know human dynamics and how they work. Why do you think people get thrown out of juries? Like this dude cannot be on this jury.
Yeah.
That's because human element starts to change and blend things, and it just changes everything. That is one thing about the BCS is it just spit out whatever. Sometimes
It
it's like,
would have split out Florida State.
well, no doubt.
It would have split out Florida State.
They might have tweaked the algo though. They might have been like, "Hey, look." They might have had the data scientists in the room. Like, look here, brother.
We need to
we need you to go ahead.
But again, how about one more time?
Yeah, you remember in Casino when DeVito was playing blackjack and he kept saying "hit me" and she kept pulling out a face card and he kept ripping it up and he was throwing up and he said "hit me again." That's what they would have done to my man in the room. They'd have been like, "No, bro, go ahead and
unplug it back in."
Let me try to explain this to you as clearly as I can. I need the algorithm to spit out Alabama. So whatever you need to do.
And preferably Texas as well.
And Texas, Alabama, Washington. Hey, and if we're being real, if you need to lose another one, move Washington out.
Move them out. Their conference won't exist in 2 weeks.
Yes, you don't even actually need Washington. So just make sure that Alabama is somewhere in this top 4.
Understood.
So that is the interesting thing about the BCS was, hey, at least it's just a computer, and there was no one you could blame, right?
This shit is crazy.
So them leaving Florida State out, I've been said it's pageantry. It's.
Would you have left Bama? You would have left Bama out, I'm assuming, correct?
Listen, this is my last thing on it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And mind you, 2 weeks ago they were on a 4th and goal from the 30 against a team that has 6 wins. I think Auburn has 5 or 6 wins.
Everybody's talking about the Georgia game, but yes.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, I would have left them out. But if we're being honest here, the NCAA has been living the lie for decades of purity and kids and education, and then they just play football on the side. Yeah. That's what the NCAA has been living off of. It's a pure form of
nostalgia.
Football. Yes, it's a pure form of just kids. And remember when you were young and just did it for the love of the game? That's what the NCAA has been living off of.
Tailgating.
This is, but Nick, this is the final cap of, hey, man, that shit is, it's never been that. It will never be that again. This is about TV deals and everything else, but giving
brands, institutions, yes,
giving an opportunity to a team that deserves it. I will say this:
it's not even giving an opportunity.
I can't believe we're spending so much time on this, but it is an interesting topic.
Interesting.
I will say this: I think part of it has become, as a fan, you better buy merchandise, you better travel to games, you better buy hotel rooms and all that other shit, like Alabama, like Texas, like all those other guys do. Because if you don't, that's going to be a factor when it's time to pick teams to go to the playoff. I know it's going to be 12 now, and that's a lot wider. But man, if you want your college, it's almost like soccer, world football. You want your team to have extra bread,
better travel
to go purchase new players. You better go buy the new kit. You better do all that stuff. That's essentially what they're saying.
That's a really strong point. I remember when I was at ASU, Georgia came to play. And I had never seen any. Now, Georgia and Arizona are literally opposite sides of the country. I had never seen, and this was just a regular Saturday game. I had never seen anything like it. I had never seen so many fans travel. It was like they descended upon Tempe, and it was red and black and gray for the entire weekend, and then they just left. But it was ridiculous how many of them it came. So that's actually a really good point.
Yes, because that's what they
do.
It's clear that's what they're saying. You better have a bunch of fans that are bringing a bunch of money, that are going to buy a bunch of beers when they're in town, and they're going to buy tickets and hotel rooms and spend money in the town and watch all the games and buy the merchandise. Because if you don't, that's going to work against you when it comes to picking your team to go to the playoff or whatever level.
Which
it's going to be.
Underscores our point about college football, the NCAA, college basketball, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, 100%, man.
It's
not,
always
all that bullshit you think it's about. That's not what it's about.
Yes.
Because you have a team that deserves to be in that college football playoff that's being treated like they're playing in the SWAC or the MEAC or something, and they're playing in the ACC and they went undefeated. So yeah, not to go crazy on this, but I felt like we had to bring that up because
college football has always been the pros for everyone but the players. Now it's starting to become the pros a little bit for the players with the transfer portal and all that. Hey, this transfer portal, this shit is the pros, dog.
Well, they said what out of all the Heisman, 3 out of the 4 Heisman candidates are transfer guys. Bo Nix a transfer guy. Jaden Daniels a transfer guy.
It's the pros.
I don't know who else the other guys are. And then the number 18 from Ohio State. I don't know who the third quarterback is. There's 3 quarterbacks and then 18 from Ohio State for Heisman finalists. 3 out of the 4 of them are transfer portal guys.
Right.
Nix, Daniels, and then the other guy
18,
is.
For sure.
18's not a transfer portal guy.
Hey, did you see that dude that tweeted me?
No.
Did you see my response?
No, what he said.
So, look, I'm about to pull. Actually, I'm gonna send it to you. But yeah, I'll just send it to you just because if you're listening or watching, you won't know what I'm talking about. All right, let's get into the NBA in-season tournament. Las Vegas, Nevada. The 4 semis teams are the Pelicans, the Lakers, the Pelicans, the Lakers. The Hawk? No. I'm tweaking.
Pelicans, the Lakers, the Pacers, and the Bucks.
And the Bucks. There you go. Those are the 4 teams, 2 in the East, 2 in the West. Winner, 1 game to the final. Let me see that. They have to have the odds up. Let me pull those up too. But Nick, talk to me overall about the last couple games. We could talk about just recapping what happened there.
Yes. So I was thinking about it. First off, tournament to me has been a success. I think we talked about this after the group stage, but the best thing that could have happened for them was that Celtics Pacers game went the way it did, and they came out the way they did as far as the first semifinal game or quarterfinal game. Just to me, that was awesome, man. Just like awesome basketball game. Tyrese Halliburton, he only had 26, and it seemed like he had 40. But just just the energy, the intensity. It was clear that these guys cared. Thought the pace was crazy. And I think if you're the NBA, you actually couldn't have asked for this to go any better, right? Obviously, you want your big brands involved in this second round. So you had the Knicks, you had the Lakers, you had
the Kings.
You had the Knicks, you had the Lakers, you had the Celtics, right?
Bucks.
You had your big brands, but then you also had up-and-coming teams like the Pelicans and the Pacers, right? So ultimately, if you were the NBA, if you were Adam Silver, this is exactly what you wanted, right? When we get past this group stage, I want a healthy mix of our established brands, but then some up-and-coming teams so that we can say, hey, this is the type of tournament that these teams like the Pelicans and the Pacers, who probably don't have a realistic shot at winning an NBA championship this year, they can absolutely compete for this, right? I think they were talking about it before. Halliburton had said he had never been on a nationally televised NBA game before, and this was the biggest game that he had played in his career. And you kind of think about it, it's like, yeah, man, like this is big time for these guys. So
and he went down a triple-double.
Yeah, then obviously on the other side of it, you get Durant versus LeBron as one of your quarterfinal games. Like, so if you're the NBA, this worked out exactly how you want it. You get awesome games with the exception of the Bucks Knicks game. But yeah, man, I loved it, man. I thought, it was a dud. I've never seen the Thibodeau team get beat like that defensively, but the Bucks were also just
they were just knocking down everything.
Yeah, they were just playing really good basketball. There's nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah.
But overall, man, I loved all the games. I think you got exactly what you were looking for as far as just competitiveness. And these guys taking it seriously. Like Tatum was pissed afterwards, right? And like rightfully so. And like I look at it for a team like Boston, it's like you and I have been talking about this for years. Like this wasn't a regular game, right? So if you're Boston and you're trying to change the narrative that you choke in big moments, you think that you would come out ready to go in this game. And they did, but they got beat. Like, so again, so looking long term, right? And like ultimately, like that's what this should do. Looking long term, it brings back those same questions that I've always had about Boston, regardless of how good their start is this year, regardless of how they've looked so far. It's like, hey, is this the same team that I've always worried about? Because it looked like the same old Celtics to me. In a big spot, they got tight. They let another team beat them. They let another team who didn't have the best player on the floor beat them, right? And I know they're out with the Porzingis injury, which is massive for them. We want to talk about where they're really missing. I think that if you looked early on in the season, you and I talked about this a lot. Porzingis was perfect for them, right? Porzingis as your fourth option was absolutely perfect. Third, fourth option was absolutely perfect for them. So they're missing him,
third
but
for sure.
yeah, they don't answer those questions.
Oh,
Right?
I mean, I guess you talking about Derek White. I mean, Derek White might be the two over there, low
listen,
key.
Derek White is. I was talking about Peyton Pritchard. I was talking about Pritchard. Pritchard comes in, he's number 3.
Derek White fuck around be the
yeah.
two over there.
So, but those same questions still exist, right? Like, did you come out of that feeling any better about Boston? Like, nah, you feel worse. And then it's like you look at a team like the Pacers and you're like, hey, look, they can play a little bit of whatever their version of defense is. They played it on Monday night.
They did.
And then the Pelicans, it's like, hey, man, this is a fun team, right? Going against another fun team in the Kings. It's like, all right, cool. Like, what can Zion do? Zion looked awful in the first half. Looked absolutely looked like he had cinder blocks on his feet. Comes out in the second half and he's absolutely hooping. So yeah, man. I mean, I thought it was great. And then you go to last night, more of the same, man. Again, the Bucks. Other than the Bucks Knicks game, I know that.
Let's talk big picture now, just so we don't have to look, because like those are done and dusted, right? Let's talk about this semi matchup. Let's talk about LeBron. LeBron was all gas last night. Couple days off. He came in looking extremely fresh. He was getting back on D. There was a stretch at the end of the first half where he got up and down the floor 4 or 5 times and was involved in rebounds, dishing, going to the rack, and didn't look tired at all. Different type of shape LeBron James is in. Nick, it looks like he wants to go and get this NBA Cup to go put it on the mantle. And it would be awesome to see Lakers, Bucks, because I think the Lakers end up beating the Pacers, but we could see about that. But they got to beat the Pelicans first. Right now, the Lakers are -2 versus the Pelicans. Total is 230. Lakers -130 on the money line. That's the second game tomorrow. First game is Bucks Pacers. Bucks are only -4 against the Pacers in Vegas. Total is 250.
I'm more surprised about the Lakers -2.
Really, you think the Pelicans would be favored?
No. I think the Lakers would be laying more than 2 in that game. Just given the situation, I know the Lakers have been inconsistent this year, but I think in these spots, like we just talked about it, like this matters to LeBron, right? And I think when it matters to LeBron, it's not the same Lakers team. And I think I'm not surprised at all that LeBron is going after this. Like, I think if you're LeBron, it's like, all right, yeah, this is like one thing I can add on to my mantle that I don't have. I have everything else, right, except for Defensive Player of the Year, which we can talk about. But he has everything else there. Let me just go ahead and get this NBA Cup. Let me go ahead and get this NBA Cup MVP real quick on the way out. So I think it matters. I would think that that the Lakers would be favored more than 2, but I actually think the 4 is correct. Even though the Bucks have been playing, the Bucks have been playing really well.
They've won 10 of 12 now.
Yeah,
for as much shit as we've been talking about the Bucks, they've won 10 of 12. The defense is a little better, but the offense has been hot lava. The last 10 or 11 games, they're second in offensive rating, only behind the Pacers, and they're not behind the Pacers by that much. Offensively, they have been locked in the last 10, 12 games.
That's Dame getting back in form, right? You knew he wasn't going to continue how he started the season. Dame Lillard was shooting like 29% from 3 to start the year. Like, that's not Dame Lillard. You knew once he picked it up and once those guys got comfortable playing together I was never worried about them offensively. I think defensively is where their biggest questions are. And maybe that's why it's so close, because of just how Halliburton plays and that Dame's just not going to be able to do anything with them. But
you know what's perfect too for LeBron in this spot is that if he wins, great. If he loses, it's kind of like, oh, it's the first one, whatever.
Oh, good. Yeah, he's not gonna be tripping off it. Yeah, but if he wins, it's gonna be and listen, if he wins, he'll tell you about it.
Well, what about if what if he loses in the finals? Then is it like another finals L? Does that come into play? Like you're in a must-win spot to win something and you're losing.
Well, it's a lose-lose for him, because if he wins, it'll be like, who cares? If he loses,
so you think it's a lose-lose?
Yeah, it's the same way they still bring up his bubble championship. Like, the amount of hate that bubble championship gets to me is crazy. Like, everybody played in the same environment.
That's barbershop talk, though.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like it is. But for people to call that bullshit is like it's kind of crazy to me. You had guys like TJ Warren averaging 50 a game in the bubble. Like, there was high level basketball going on in there.
The only thing that changes the bubble piece is that there was that huge break in the middle. and people got to restart.
But everybody did.
But everybody did. Yeah,
it was an even playing field for everybody. Everybody was staying in a hotel. Everybody was playing in ballrooms. Everybody was, whatever. Like, it was
what did Dame say? He said, "I ain't come here to waste my time."
Yeah, exactly.
So I ain't come here to waste my time.
Yeah.
So he thought I was going to come here and waste my time.
Look how Jimmy and them boys handled it. Look how the Heat handled it. Like, yeah, that shit mattered. That was 100% matters as a title.
That's why that whole Clippers, the Paul George Clippers thing, mental health is big. And I agree. This is where I'm at about mental health, Nick. Because I'm a proponent of mental health. That's fine. You're having a hard time, take some time off, remove yourself. But that doesn't mean I don't get to evaluate you as an athlete based on that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You shouldn't use the soft word, but it's like, hey, when shit gets really tough mentally, this guy in the past has seemed to tap out. Other guys haven't. Dame Lillard hasn't. Paul George has. That's something that we can talk about and it still be healthy around mental health. Does that make sense? Yeah, I feel like 100%. Every time we talk about mental health, it's like, oh, well, come on. Like, we got to keep our mental health at a top tier standard. That's fine. But Dame Lillard doesn't need that extra shit. So when it comes to a tough spot, I'm going to lean Dame Lillard's way before I lean Paul George's way.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing. I'm not disparaging Paul George, or maybe some people would say I am disparaging Paul George. But what I'm saying is when the going gets tough, I'd rather rock with Dame on the mental side than Paul George. I don't think everybody's different. Everybody has different capacities. That's the real conversation.
I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I think it's fair. It's valid.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's interesting. We got off on a little bit of a tangent, but it's so initially I was thinking it's a win-win for LeBron. Maybe it is a lose-lose.
Nothing LeBron does is a win. There's no such thing as a win-win for LeBron. We know this, man. Like I've found myself in more ridiculous LeBron James conversations than I'd like to count, and there is no win-win. Some of the rationale out there, it's so personal. Like it's so personal that you just can't have the conversations anymore. Like it's just personal, like for everybody. People, it's so personal.
He's polarizing.
Like, have a conversation with me about LeBron James basketball, and then let's start there. But it always goes off into he doesn't, and they think it's bad. It is basketball. He doesn't have the heart to take the last shot. It's like, well, what are we talking about here? The guy went to fucking 10 straight NBA finals.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see what shakes with the in-season tournament.
Williams to the NBA Finals. Like,
shout out Mo.
Shout out Mo Williams.
Real shit.
Shout out
Mo Williams. What? Who you think comes out with it?
Man, I feel like the Lakers. I feel like the Lakers. I bet on LeBron in this spot. I always will.
I'm gonna go with the Bucks, just because they're gonna be able to get some stops on the Pacers. I think they get the W there, and then I'll take Dame, Giannis, and whatever happens in a one game on a neutral versus LeBron, who will now have played. So LeBron played last night on Tuesday. He's going to play Thursday and Saturday. That's 3 and 4. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah. He'll play 3 and 4. I'll take Giannis and the boys before I take the Lakers. It'll be tight though. And it'll be fun. It'll be a little extra juice, but I'll take the Bucks to win it right now as we sit in the semis.
I don't mind that. LeBron playing 34 minutes a night.
LeBron's the man, dog.
At age 39.
LeBron is he. Dude.
So I just don't want to hear it.
He is different.
25, 8, and 7. He is 39 years old.
Yeah, no question about it. LeBron has been sensational. All right, let's move over to Zach LaVine and the Chicago Bulls. There doesn't seem to be a market for Zach LaVine. That's the rumblings.
Wait, hold on. It doesn't seem to be wait, listen, before you go there, hold on. Whenever you see a guy's name pop up on your notifications, pop up on your Twitter feed, pop up in all these different trade rumors. He is openly being shopped. And no one denies it. He's openly being shopped. So let's just start that, right? Like Zach LaVine is clearly has been since the summer been openly being shopped by the Chicago Bulls. Which is why it's clear there is no market.
NBA trade deadline is February 9th. From our guy Mayberry, most don't expect the Bulls to make a trade until at least mid-December after contracts that were signed this summer can be traded. That's also a thing. So Zach did sign a deal in the summer.
It's December 15th, right?
And yeah, he can't even get moved for like another 10 or I think it's like 10 days, right? So that has to pass as well. So I would take the no market with a grain of salt because it's literally you're not allowed to move him yet.
We know how these go.
We know how these go for sure. Now LaVine is out with soreness. Honestly, man, it's just really bad business overall from the Bulls because everybody but the Bulls saw this coming with the overall roster in its totality. Re-signing LaVine to that big deal and bringing back Vooch and bringing back DeMar and bringing back Donovan was never, ever going to be the answer to compete in the East. The New York Knicks have the most solid, culture is not the right word, but they know what they want to do on a game-to-game basis and how they want to play. They have guys that are playing together. They have a better coach than the Bulls, and they are a piece away from actually competing in the East. So I don't know how you can bring back the same team the Bulls did and expect to compete with the top 5 teams in the East with the Knicks included. So we knew what this was we knew where we were going to at. Where we were going to be with this situation. I'm not exactly sure what you want to talk about and how you want to bring it up, but yeah, he needs to be moved. The contract is impossible, so we're going to get fleeced. But he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be in the locker room. Let DeMar run the show on the offensive side. Let Kobe White continue to cook, who's been absolutely sensational the last week.
Oh
and
Kobe White the other night was
keep it moving.
If the Kobe White game the other night was incredible.
What was it, 8 threes or 7 threes?
I think it was 7 threes, but he was just incredible. And then down the stretch, he was just making every single play.
Yeah, he was.
No,
awesome.
The reason I wanted to bring it up is because I think you kind of hit on the head is that the Bulls are going to have to accept. So first off, there's been rumors. He's been in trade rumors forever, but Woj came out and a few other people have come out that there is absolutely no market for Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine in the second year of a 5-year, $250 million deal. So, $40 million for the rest, $40 million for the rest of this year, $43 million next year, $46 million the year after that. And then he has a player option for $49 million in 2026, 2027, which I'm here to tell you he has picked up. Even though he hasn't informed he may not have informed his future employer that he's picking it up, but that is what we call a pre-picked up player option.
It's not an option. No option. Not an option. That is a guaranteed year on that deal.
He has already made plans with that money. Zach has picked it up.
That year is going to pay the taxes on the other 3 years.
Yes, we picked that up where it will be staying. So Zach's got quite a big contract. It doesn't hurt that he's injury prone. It also doesn't hurt that this year he just hasn't played well. But yeah, I think that they're going to find themselves in a situation where you're going to have to trade a 28-year-old, was he a 2 or 3-time All-Star, who should be in their prime for like nothing. And you're going to have to find someone who's willing to take on that contract. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, even if you are willing to drop them for absolutely nothing, right? Maybe some future ones if you're lucky, another bad contract, like a Ben Simmons type situation. Is anyone actually going to sign up to take that deal? Or are you stuck? Are you actually stuck with him? Like, are we going to find it to where you're actually stuck with him? I think Simmons is a great example. Like, they were able to move Simmons and get James Harden for it, right? So, like, we're not even close to that. And Simmons wasn't even playing at the time. Zach LaVine plays and nobody wants him.
Well, listen, I think that's bullshit. I think that no one wants him. I think that's just like,
you guys better lower the price.
Yeah, like no one wants him. Come on, like he can still contribute quite a bit on the offensive side of the rock, especially. I mean, if we're being honest, for a team like the Knicks, who needs shooting. They
gonna
don't have
say
any
the Knicks.
shooting, bro. They need
They don't
3-point shooting.
yeah.
They need shooting, period.
RJ
When
Barrett cannot
when
be
Julius
your
and
number 3.
Jalen Brunson score, they are ISO going to work. Like, it's not like offensive, like
slow,
fluid catch and
it's
shoot
It's not.
coming off pin downs. It's
Julius
like
Randle is so entertaining. He is the definition of ISO go to work.
yes, that's what he does.
No one else is on the floor when Julius is
He
out
had
there
40.
trying to get his.
He had 41 last night. Earned all 41. Not an easy bucket on there.
Yeah, no,
so they could use a guy like Zach, but if you're a front office guy, I'm not about to destroy my books for this dude.
But don't you have to?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
This is the NFL. You can't restructure, right?
This is such a classic spot to like send this guy to Charlotte and just like never hear from him again.
For what?
Just but like that's what I mean. Just like
yeah.
It might be one of those things where you just have to get the dollars off the books, so you just do whatever is necessary.
And the other thing is, based off the last 2 games, you honestly it seems to be a better team without Zach LaVine out there, right? Like the last 2 games, the Bulls have played inspired basketball, balls moving, they're playing better defensively. So is it a situation where you just fully eat it? Like, hey, will anybody take him for some 2s and whatever expirings you have that we could even buy out just to get out of this?
Yeah.
What a terrible situation.
Dude, Nick, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
The Bulls are in the worst
situation
in the NBA.
Yeah. Terrible situation.
But why?
It was preposterous that they brought this team back this summer. It was crazy they looked at the situation and said, hey, let's go ahead and bring all these guys back.
Maybe it's something in the water in Chicago that we just
free Caruso.
Give people extra literally just burn up full seasons, and we know we're burning up the season as we go in. I don't understand it, but I also think it's a lot to be said that LaVine's not in the locker room. That shit was bad, man.
So do you think it's a personality thing with him too?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I've never gotten the vibes that he's a bad guy. I think he's just a bad guy to play basketball with.
No. Well, yeah.
He's kind of arrogant. I guess I get like that. He seems like he's kind of arrogant, a little abrasive, but
we're talking about basketball. And I think in my opinion, he never really accepted the DeRozan collaboration.
You don't think so?
They needed to be lockstep and like homies, and because they're essentially the same guy.
Yeah.
They're the offensive go-to.
It didn't help that DeRozan came out and it was so good that first half of that first year and got all that love.
And then LaVine never got over that DeRozan was the guy in the fourth.
Yeah.
They also never got over that they had the extra responsibility sometimes, especially Zach, of handling the rock. We talk about Zach and handling the rock. He's not interested.
Yeah.
I don't want to handle the rock. I want to get the ball, 2 dribble, pull up, come off a screen, catch and shoot.
That's what
I don't want to. I want to be honestly. I think in a dream world, LaVine would be Klay Thompson, and the only time that he would dribble the rock would be in the fourth to get the glory of going ISO and being able to go by, get to the rack, and lay it up. And when I say Klay Thompson, I mean just not have the ball, not have the responsibility
of making those decisions. Yes.
When I'm going to the
rack,
I
get the ball, it's for me.
Yep, exactly.
It's for me. It's my turn. No one's expecting anything else, but it's my turn.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. I have the ball. Going up. We know what time it is.
Yeah.
The fact that he had to decipher do I go to DeMar here? I don't feel like I should have to go to DeMar. I'm the highest paid player on the team. I'm supposed to be the face of the franchise.
Kevin Durant told me I'm the man.
Why am I deciphering if I should go to someone else? Yeah. So I never think they got over that. And then the Lonzo piece, because then at least he could pull that. That decision wasn't his to make. Lonzo was at least,
and Lonzo was not a ball dominator.
To go with the rock.
Lonzo was looking to get rid of the ball. Lonzo was always head up, looking to get rid of the ball. He's not like a Rondo type carrying around, going to the basket. Yeah, which works fine for LaVine because he was getting the ball back from Lonzo.
So that him and DeMar never meshed, and it didn't help when they lost Lonzo. That was the backbreaker.
He needs to be on the Lakers.
Yeah, he'd be good on the Lakers.
He fits in perfectly with the Lakers. LeBron will handle all that other shit, but when LeBron needs to take some time off, or Zach will 100% got this.
Yeah. And
I got this. It's me.
yeah, it's really interesting to see what is going to happen with the rest of Zach's career because
I can tell you what's going to happen. A lot of checks.
well, because I'm talking about on the floor.
$175 million is going to happen.
But on the floor though, the more he has the ball in his hands,
the worse it is.
The worse it is for your overall for the team. He's a good player,
but he's so good. He's so talented.
He's not a great player.
Yeah. He's one of the few players in the NBA that can get you 40 when he feels like it. And there's not that many guys who can do that, but you also have to balance that with the fact that Zach LaVine had 50 in like a 15-point loss earlier this year. Like that is the Zach LaVine experience. Like he'll get you 50, but it's not a winning 50. It's crazy. I think it's such a fine line just overall. Like we talk about this, the guys who are like talented and contribute to winning versus the guys who are super talented but just don't necessarily contribute to winning. And Zach is he's just right under that. You know what I mean? Whereas there's other guys who have that same skill set, but when they do it, you win ball games.
Dame Lillard.
It's
a perfect example of a guy that he's just been carrying for quite a while.
Or Trae Young is the opposite, right? Like Trae Young can average 30 points and 12 assists on paper. It looks great.
It's just the efficiency thing too. Yeah.
It's an efficiency thing. It's a decision-making thing. A lot of it comes down to when you're going for that. How do you play in the fourth? It's interesting.
Yeah. All right, let's move over to the NFL. 25 minutes, 30 minutes here left on No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. Nick, the talk around Brock Purdy is pissing me off a little bit. Because I did the Juice Bar, my show on MSG with my guy Alex Monaco, and right now Brock Purdy is the favorite to win MVP at a lot of shops, plus 300. Dak is plus 350, plus 4. Jalen Hurts is right behind him at plus 4, plus 350, whatever you want to call it, right? Mm-hmm. Now, my guy, Alex Monaco, I like Dak for MVP. I think Dak has been absolutely unbelievable the last 6 weeks. I think he's going to torch Philly this week, and he's going to continue to roll. And I think numbers where he has his team in the NFC, potentially getting a home playoff game, I think Dak is going to end the season with a deserving MVP resume. Brock Purdy is also going to have a deserving MVP resume, and I wouldn't be mad if he, like right now, it's a toss-up between him and Dak. Why, when we talk about Brock Purdy, does Mr. Irrelevant continue to come up? Why is that even a talking point? Where he got drafted in what position? In my opinion, Nick, if Brock Purdy was a top 15 draft pick, he would be far and away the MVP favorite. It'd be like minus 150 right now if he was a first round draft pick. The fact that we can't give it to Mr. Irrelevant, he has so many weapons around him. What is it, Nick? Shout out my guy Big Waz. He tweeted, am I supposed to be mad at Brock Purdy for being surrounded by competency?
Yeah, I saw that.
Like, where I don't understand.
Well,
where do you draw the line? How do you feel about him now being the favorite? Would you give it to him?
I think that's the bigger thing.
What's the hesitancy behind Brock Purdy?
Yeah,
that's what I don't get, because
I don't
every week this motherfucker comes out and is dealing in big spots on primetime television. Back-to-back weeks, passer rating 140 plus. I mean, he just deals every week.
Yeah,
and he's getting the respect in Vegas but why is it a talking point that he's the favorite? He's deservedly the favorite.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I don't think it's necessarily due to the fact that he's Mr. Irrelevant, but I do think it took a long time, and it's still taking a long time for a lot of people to believe what they see. Whereas you and I were on this relatively early. Certainly we're on it coming into this year. And definitely, even during the losing streak, didn't really waver that this guy makes big-time throws. They're not out here running some vanilla cupcake offense for him in which he's just a game manager, right? They might not come out and spray the ball down the field, but
They
100%
do,
he's
though.
making big. Yeah. But you know what I mean, right? It's
Yeah.
not like Miami Tua type situation, but yeah, they absolutely do when they need to, and he has no problem doing that. And he makes all the throws, right? So I think a lot of people still do like, well, this is 7th round pick. This wasn't supposed to be the guy. But I think the other part of it is so much of it is Shanahan. Like it's Shanahan, right? Like, oh, it's all Shanahan. It's all Shanahan. Almost with the Eagles, like you like to talk about how Sirianni doesn't get the love and to a lesser extent Hurts. For some reason, I feel like Howie Roseman lines up on Sunday, right? Like the amount of love that Howie Roseman gets for putting together that Eagles situation, I think overshadows Sirianni and Hurts. I think with the Niners, it's the same thing with Shanahan as far as Purdy, right? And like, again, you and I know that it doesn't matter. It matters who the play caller is. It matters who's in your ear. It absolutely matters who you're working with between Monday and Saturday. But at the end of the day, you got to go out there and executing. And he's been doing that. So I think it's a combination of people not necessarily believing what they're seeing, which is absolutely crazy because now it's been almost 2 full seasons. And also just the amount of respect that people have for Shanahan, the fact that there seems to be this belief that no matter who he has back there at quarterback, that he's going to do just fine. But again, if you've been watching, there is a clear difference between what they were doing with Garoppolo and what they're doing with Brock Purdy.
Without question.
Clear, right? Like, again, they were winning with Garoppolo, but he wasn't out there winning games for them. Brock Purdy, a lot of times in a lot of situations, is doing things that win games for them, right? I'm not going to say he's the sole reason, but he's absolutely a major contributor. Whereas Garoppolo, there were times that they won in spite of him because he would literally turn the ball over every single game. He's a guaranteed interception, whereas that's not the case with Purdy. So people just, they have these narratives. They're stuck in their head. But I do think a lot of it is Shanahan, and he seems to get a lot of credit for what goes on over there, as he should. But again, I'm watching Brock Purdy with my eyes, and I know that this is a quarterback who's making big-time throws. Let's look at the throws. It really always comes down to there's a few throws that certain guys can make. Like the Jordan Love throw the other day. Jordan Love throw to Romeo Doubs where he put it up there and it rainbowed down right into Dobbs' hands. That's one of the best throws I've seen this year. I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about.
You giving love to Jordan Love?
I have to. But when I see a throw like that, when you see guys make those types of throws, that's when it's like, yo, this is different. I've even seen it with guys like Howell. So again, they're not watching what we're watching out there. And that's all I can come. That's all I can come.
The only thing I can come up with is
your own narratives.
Yeah, you're hating on my man. You don't like how he looks. You don't like the talent around him. You don't like how he carries himself. You don't like this. You don't like that. If you go watch the tape and the numbers, he's absolutely dealing.
Yes.
Simple as that. The poise in spots. He hit Brandon Ayuk on a 3rd and 6. It was absolutely the play of the game. If you were watching the Eagles game, it was 21-13. If they go 3 and out there, the absolute game is flipped. The Eagles probably win the game if they go 3 and out there. They end up picking up a 3rd and 6 or 7 on a perfect read from Purdy, perfect ball from Purdy, no problem. They end up going down. Debo scores like a 50-plus yard touchdown in like 3 or 4 plays after that. So, and to go back to your point about Garoppolo, Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl against the Chiefs without question.
Yes.
So, and the Niners are going to win the Super Bowl this year.
Well, and they might win it. They might beat the Eagles last year. In the
if he doesn't blow his UCL,
exactly.
Tommy
so
John.
like what? Yeah, they were down to like their 8th string quarterback. So yeah, exactly. Again, man, I think you're right. A lot of it is the narrative that he came in with. He can't shake that.
Can't shake it for some reason.
Even as he starts to, it's still like, well, this is Shanahan just scheming him. Like, listen, man, this is the NFL. This isn't the Big 12. This isn't like, hey, we can come out with some crazy offense and just put some guy back there and he can run it and put up numbers. Like, it doesn't work like that in the NFL. There are not system quarterbacks in the NFL. It's just not real. The windows are too tight. The defenses are too smart. Everything is ever evolving. Like, you cannot be a system guy in the NFL and have that level of success. It's not real.
That's the key, that level of success. I've seen system quarterbacks in the NFL. Honestly, what you're seeing in Denver is a system quarterback right now via Sean Payton.
He's playing well.
With Russell Wilson, but it's very nuanced system-y. He's not making I don't think I've seen, like, he's not going out and making a bunch of crazy plays. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The level of success is the key.
Well,
you're not going to win the Super Bowl without a Ray Lewis, Ed Reed type defense.
Yes.
Unless it's with a system guy.
Or Warren Sapp and those boys like you did with Brad Johnson in Tampa Bay. Like those guys were actual system guys. But to kind of go back to the Purdy thing, how long did it take Brady to shake the system quarterback thing? I mean, people were not believing what they were watching.
Yeah.
How long were they? This is a system court. He's the best system quarterback. System? What are you watching?
Yeah.
You know, like how long was it before like, oh, it's Tom Brady? And then what happens when you remove Brady from the system? The system doesn't work too well anymore, does it? The system puts up 0 points at home. The system is trying to find Taylor Zappi or Mac Jones, Cam Newton, you name it, right? Yeah. So like, damn with all that system stuff. If your quarterback is having sustained success, right? They replaced Dilfer after the Super Bowl. What's your favorite Brad Johnson moment after the Bucs won the Super Bowl? Those guys got replaced. Right? So don't talk to me about system. If you can't do it, you can't do it. And if you can, you can. And Brock Purdy has been clear as day that he can do it. He contributes to winning, right? They win because of him. He's not just caretaking out there. But yeah, some people won't believe that, man. It's not all coaching, and it's not all where you were drafted. It's the same reason why you tend to give more rope to early round guys. It is what it is.
Yeah. Shout out John Lynch. That's that's a really quick last point on Purdy before we start talking about this AFC. You want to talk about rope. What's impressive about Purdy is if he plays bad for like 3 games off the jump, 2 games, he's probably out of a job.
You never see him again.
Like seriously.
Yeah.
He got an opportunity and had to play ball from the jump, and he did it. Very, very impressive, man.
Yeah.
A perfect example.
And he knew that when he got in the game.
Like,
I can't fuck this up.
I cannot smoke this.
I have 0 rope. I have negative rope.
They're
already waiting to be like, yeah, this isn't for him.
Perfect example is Josh Dobbs has a couple good games. He has 1 bad game. They're like, yeah, Kevin O'Connell's
what was that?
Kevin O'Connell's like, yeah, I don't know if he's going to be the guy.
He's not committing. Yeah, what are we talking about?
What?
When I saw that was crazy.
But that's how it is in the NFL.
One bad game, the guy's been there for 3 weeks. And it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. I would have to look at someone. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
He was the story of the NFL for 2 weeks. I thought that was crazy. And y'all are going nowhere. So, like, what are we talking about here? But, yeah, no, you're 100% right, man. Like, that's a lot of pressure. Purdy came in knowing, like, I have to play well, right? And that's why I tell you the dude Bears backup quarterback, he'll stick around for a while because he couldn't fuck up, and he didn't fuck up. So, good backup.
Yeah.
It's not the same as Purdy, obviously, but
I'm talking about just a starting. He wanted to be a starting guy, and he seized the moment.
Exactly.
Like a lot of people would not have. And yes, he has talent around him, and yes, he has a good coach. All that helps.
That article that came out of I think it was the Philadelphia Inquirer or something, where they were like, Jalen Hurts is loved in Philadelphia, but Brock Purdy would be a hero. It's like, what?
I think he said he'd be a god.
He'd be a god. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, just please delete this. Like I didn't read the article, so I can't comment on that. But even the headline is like the editor's like, you should come up with something else, bro.
Yeah, someone I forget who it was. Someone reposted that Bill Burr quote, the comedian Bill Burr, where he was like, where he's like, you guys idolize Rocky, a fictional character like Rocky, even though Joe Frazier is from your city, but you can't because he's black. Like,
he just crushed Philly. He's basically called everybody from Philly idiots. Basically, is what it was.
Yeah. Oh my god, that shit was hilarious.
Let's talk about Let's talk about the AFC before we get out of here because
shambles. Another quarterback bites the dust.
The dust. Trevor Lawrence.
Every week we lose one. We lost to Sean and Joe Burrow last week. Lose Trevor Lawrence this week. AFC's open.
It's wide open.
Sneaky Colts.
Miami is 9-3. Baltimore's 9-3. Jacksonville's 8-4 without a quarterback. Kansas City doesn't have an offense that can compete in the NFL at the moment. And I want to make something clear. For as much hate and credit Eric Bieniemy got with the hate and didn't receive enough credit for the offense in Kansas City, this is the first year Bieniemy's not there, by the way. In case we forgot that. That offense is not very good. Matt Nagy is the offensive coordinator. We know how that shit goes. The offense looks porridge. It's not very good compared to the 2022 squad who didn't have any weapons either. So I got to give a nod to Bieniemy, and he has Sam Howell playing for a team that is essentially crumbling in front of us. They're going to fire the coach. They're trading all their weapons on defense. He still has Sam Howell going out there and competing and playing all right on offense. So I got to give
garbage time numbers from Howell, but yes.
I got to give some love to Eric Bieniemy because he left the situation in Kansas City. The offense is clearly worse. And he went to Washington, and they're putting it together on offense. It's a middle-of-the-pack offense, but everything else is crumbling around him. The franchise is under new ownership. He's still been able to make a little bit happen over there on offense for Washington. So salute to Eric Bieniemy because he definitely had a bigger impact on that offense than we'd like to give him credit for.
Well, yeah. And I think that, again, back to narratives, the narrative is always going to be that Kansas City there's no talent in the wide receiver room for them, and that's why the offense is regressing. So I think that's why Matt Nagy is escaping the criticism that we know that he deserves, because we know that if Matt Nagy's touching it, it's going to go to hell. But I think that's why they're escaping. But on the AFC, I think the AFC, again, with that Trevor Lawrence injury becomes very interesting. You look at, obviously, we talk about the Texans. We talk about our guy, Coleridge Bernard Stroud, the fourth.
The fourth.
If y'all don't know, I put Sean onto the fact that CJ Stroud's real name is Coleridge.
Coleridge the
Sean
fourth.
declared he will never call him anything other than Coleridge the fourth.
Coleridge the fourth.
Yeah,
CJ Stroud.
Coleridge. Yeah, good win for them on Sunday. But you look at the Colts, 1-4 straight, streaking under Gardner Minshew and Shane Steichen over there. That team is scary, could win some games.
The Colts have 7 wins.
7-5. They've won 4 straight.
It's crazy.
They just keep winning. I had the Colts money line the other day, and it got tight, but Colts get away with the win. And again, under Minshew, and look, when we talk about quarterbacks a lot, and Minshew's another one of those guys where it's like, is he good enough to be your starter long term? No, but if your number 4 draft pick goes down, can Gardner Minshew come in the right situation and win you some ball games? Absolutely, right? So, like, they're winning games. And Steichen, we know what he did with the Eagles last year. Very surprising 7-5 team for sure. But they're sneaky, right? The Steelers are falling apart a little bit. I think the Bengals and Browns, we can pretty much say that they're done. The Chargers, yeah, they won on Sunday, but they scored 6 points against the Patriots. That thing is broken. If they lose, if the Patriots score a touchdown and Brandon Staley still has a job on Monday, I might not watch another NFL game all season long.
He's done at the end of the year. He should have got fired last year.
You should have fired him after this week, after a loss. Because that Patriots team is absolutely
after a win, yeah.
I wouldn't even call it after a win, yeah. I wouldn't even call the Patriots rudderless. They're beyond that. But overall, yeah,
Patriots are bad.
Very interesting situation over there. Miami's, obviously not beating winning teams, but when they put it on you, they sure do put it on you. But there's no clear-cut favorite to me in the AFC, which is why I think that ultimately, don't be surprised. I told you about the MVP ticket, and I told you, and I'm telling you now, don't be surprised the Colts are the representative. Who would you bet on? Like, do you want to bet on Buffalo?
The Colts are the representative of what?
I'm sorry, not the Colts, the Chiefs. The Chiefs.
Oh, I was about to say, what? Yeah, I'm not crazy. Yeah, nah, the Chiefs are broken. If you had to
bet on anybody, who are you betting on? Are you betting on the
Baltimore?
On the Bills? Baltimore sneaky, yeah.
Honestly, if you want to,
good point. Baltimore was my AFC pick going into the year. So
if you want to be real on my power rankings in the AFC, now that Trevor Lawrence is down,
is he out for? Do we know the extent of the injury?
He's high ankle sprain. He'll probably miss a couple weeks, but Baltimore in the AFC is number 1. I think you have to put. Man, I can't put Miami number 2 because they don't have a signature win on their resume.
Chiefs.
The Chiefs are probably number 2. I'll go with Miami number 3, but that's not saying much, man. Like,
who's 4th?
Jacksonville, I guess.
So you're all the way out. I mean, I've been out on Buffalo, but yeah,
Buffalo's done. I was talking about this last week. There's different kinds of bye weeks, right, Nick? There's a bye week where, man, we've been battling. We're tired. We're trying to get to the break. re-up, get some rest, and then come back out and close out the season strong. This bye week for the Bills, in my opinion, was a wounded dog thinking about how do we get to the end of the season and just close it out.
Yeah.
Because we need a new coach, I believe.
Yes.
The McDermott shit is stale.
Very stale.
Allen could use some fresh blood in that building. So this isn't a bye, in my opinion, for the Bills where they come out kicking and screaming. This is a bye that the Bills come out and they just limp to the finish line and close out a subpar year for the Buffalo Bills. Now, I will say this. The Chiefs play the Bills in Arrowhead, numbers 2.5, and it's not moving. So people disagree with me on that. Or is it just that the Chiefs are so poor on offense that we don't know how the game is going to shake? But I'll tell you this. I would have to take – if I had forced to print a slip in that game, I'm taking the Chiefs minus 2.5 at home in Arrowhead.
I'm taking the Chiefs and sleeping very well at night.
Coming off a loss. Yeah. I'll take those guys. So
you couldn't pay me to take the Buffalo Bills in that situation, given what I've seen. And it becomes very much a must win for the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs. I think you're right with the Ravens Chiefs being 1-2. I think it gets interesting after that. The question does become, can anybody really beat them? Maybe Miami on the right day, but like you said, Miami does not have a signature win and does not look good against bad teams. So
yeah, exactly right. We'll leave it there.
Defense is playing well.
Very well. They've been playing very well all year.
Extremely
That's why it's such a shame that Pat and Andy don't have any weapons on the wide receiver edge to give them some explosive plays. Miami creates so many explosive plays. I can't recall the Chiefs having one.
Yeah.
An explosive play for them nowadays is like a 15-yard gain.
Yeah, not even that crazy some of that crazy Kelsey shit that they used to do.
Yeah, it's just like it's they don't have enough talent over there on that side of the ball. That's going to do it for No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. I am Sean Little for Big Nick the Quick. We will see you guys next week. Tell a homie to tell a friend, subscribe, pass the link, lock in on the YouTube. Let's catch up from Vegas, Nick. I'll hit you when I get out there. I'll try to tell you about this little in-season tournament. I'm going to try to do a little content when I get out there as well. But we'll see y'all next week.